The year 1947 marked a momentous occasion in the history of the Indian subcontinent. The long reign of the British Raj came to an end, giving birth to two new nations, India and Pakistan. This historic event, however, was marred by the bloody partition of British India. It was a time of unprecedented upheaval, as millions of people were displaced and communities torn apart. The seeds of conflict sown during this tumultuous period would continue to haunt the subcontinent for decades to come. The partition, based on the two-nation theory, was meant to provide separate homelands for Hindus and Muslims. However, the hastily drawn borders, coupled with deep-seated religious tensions, ignited widespread violence. Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs found themselves on the wrong side of the newly created borders, leading to mass migrations and horrific communal riots. The horrors of partition left an indelible mark on the collective psyche of both India and Pakistan. The partition also witnessed the genesis of the Kashmir conflict, which would become a major flashpoint between India and Pakistan. The princely state of Jammu and Kashmir, with its Muslim-majority population but a Hindu ruler, Maharaja Hari Singh, became a bone of contention. The Maharaja's initial indecision about joining either dominion led to the First Indo-Pak War of 1947. The partition of India was a traumatic experience for millions of people. It was a time of immense suffering and loss, the scars of which are still visible today. The violence and displacement during partition created a legacy of mistrust and animosity between India and Pakistan. This legacy continues to cast a long shadow on the relationship between the two nations. The First Kashmir War of 1947-48 was the first major confrontation between India and Pakistan. It began just months after the partition, when Pakistan-backed tribal militias crossed the border into the princely state of Jammu and Kashmir. The Maharaja, facing an invasion, acceded to India, which airlifted troops to Srinagar to repel the invaders. The war witnessed fierce fighting between the Indian Army and Pakistani forces, along with their tribal allies. The conflict raged across the beautiful valleys and icy peaks of Kashmir, leaving a trail of destruction and displacement in its wake. Both sides accused each other of atrocities, further deepening the divide between the two nations. The war ended in a stalemate in 1949 with the intervention of the United Nations. A ceasefire line known as the Line of Control or LOC was established, dividing Kashmir between India and Pakistan. However, the underlying issues remained unresolved, setting the stage for future conflicts. The First Kashmir War had far-reaching consequences for both India and Pakistan. It solidified the division of Kashmir, creating a permanent source of tension between the two countries. The war also led to the militarization of the region, with both sides maintaining a heavy military presence along the LOC. It was a grim reminder of the human cost of partition and the enduring legacy of mistrust. The decades following the First Kashmir War were marked by simmering tensions and sporadic outbreaks of violence between India and Pakistan. The unresolved Kashmir issue remained a major stumbling block in their relationship, with both countries claiming the entire territory as their own. The dispute flared up in 1965, leading to the Second Indo-Pak War. The 1965 war was triggered by Pakistan's Operation Gibraltar, which involved sending infiltrators across the LOC to foment an uprising in Indian-administered Kashmir. However, the operation was unsuccessful, and India responded with a full-fledged military attack on Pakistan. The war saw intense fighting in various sectors, including Kashmir, Punjab, and the Rann of Kutch. The war lasted for 17 days and ended in a stalemate. Both sides suffered heavy casualties and realized the futility of another war. A Soviet-brokered ceasefire led to the Tashkent Agreement in 1966, under which both countries agreed to withdraw to their pre-war positions. However, the agreement failed to address the root cause of the conflict, Kashmir. The 1971 war, which resulted in the creation of Bangladesh, further complicated the Indo-Pak relationship. Following the war, India and Pakistan signed the Simla Agreement in 1972, agreeing to resolve their differences peacefully. However, despite these agreements, the Kashmir issue continued to fester, casting a long shadow over any attempts at lasting peace. Section 4. The birth of Bangladesh, a nation forged in war. The year 1971 witnessed the most decisive conflict between India and Pakistan, leading to the birth of Bangladesh. The war was sparked by the brutal crackdown on the Bengali population of East Pakistan by the Pakistani army. Millions of Bengali refugees fled to India, creating a humanitarian crisis. India, deeply concerned by the situation in East Pakistan and the influx of refugees, provided support to the Bengali resistance movement. On December 3, 1971, Pakistan launched preemptive airstrikes on Indian airbases, marking the beginning of the war. The 13-day war ended in a humiliating defeat for Pakistan. Indian and Bangladeshi forces fighting together captured Dhaka, the capital of East Pakistan. Over 90,000 Pakistani soldiers surrendered, marking the largest surrender of any army since World War II. The war led to the creation of Bangladesh, a new nation born out of the struggle for self-determination. India played a pivotal role in the liberation of Bangladesh, providing military and humanitarian assistance. The war also significantly altered the geopolitical landscape of South Asia, establishing India as the dominant power in the region. Section 5. Kargil, 1999, a Himalayan impasse. In the summer of 1999, the world watched with bated breath as India and Pakistan engaged in another military confrontation in the icy heights of Kargil. This conflict, known as the Kargil War, was sparked by the Pakistani Army's infiltration into Indian-controlled territory across the line of control. Disguised as Kashmiri militants, Pakistani troops occupied strategic positions in the Kargil sector, threatening vital Indian supply lines. India responded swiftly and decisively, launching Operation Vijay to evict the intruders. The Indian Army, supported by the Indian Air Force's Operation Safe Sagar, fought valiantly against the entrenched Pakistani forces. The battles were fought in treacherous, high-altitude terrain, testing the courage and resilience of the soldiers on both sides. After weeks of intense fighting, India successfully reclaimed most of the captured territory. The Kargil War, though limited in scope, had significant implications. It exposed the fragility of the peace process and highlighted the deep mistrust between the two nuclear-armed neighbors. The conflict also underscored the dangers of proxy wars and the international community's role in diffusing such situations. The Kargil War served as a stark reminder of the volatile nature of the Indo-Pak relationship. It demonstrated that even small-scale conflicts could escalate rapidly, with the potential for catastrophic consequences. The war also highlighted the need for sustained dialogue and confidence-building measures to prevent future conflicts. Section 6. Pahalgam's Shadow Terror in Paradise. The idyllic tourist haven of Pahalgam in Jammu and Kashmir was shattered by a horrific act of terrorism on April 22, 2025. The Resistance Front, an offshoot of the Lashkar-e-Taiba, a Pakistan-based terrorist group, claimed responsibility for the attack. The attack, targeting Hindu pilgrims and tourists, resulted in the death of 26 innocent people, including a Nepali national and a local Muslim guide. The attack sent shockwaves throughout India and drew widespread international condemnation. India accused Pakistan of providing support to the TRF and harboring terrorists on its soil. The attack further strained the already fragile relations between the two countries, casting a pall over any hopes for a resumption of dialogue. The Pahalgam terror attack showcased the human cost of the long-standing conflict between India and Pakistan. It served as a stark reminder of the threat posed by terrorism and the need for a united global effort to combat this menace. The attack also underscored the vulnerability of civilians in conflict zones and the urgent need for their protection. The international community urged both India and Pakistan to exercise restraint and avoid any actions that could further escalate tensions. The attack also led to renewed calls for Pakistan to dismantle terrorist infrastructure on its soil and bring the perpetrators of the Pahalgam attack to justice. Section 7, Operation Sindoor, a line crossed. Following the Pahalgam terror attack, India launched a series of retaliatory airstrikes against terrorist camps in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir on May 7, 2025. Codenamed Operation Sindoor, the strikes targeted training camps and launch pads of the Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Taiba, terrorist groups responsible for numerous attacks in India. The Indian Air Force, using Rafale fighter jets armed with Scalp missiles and AASM Hammer bombs, carried out precision strikes on 9 terrorist camps deep inside POK. The strikes, lasting approximately 25 minutes, marked a significant escalation in India's response to cross-border terrorism. Pakistan condemned the airstrikes, calling them a violation of its sovereignty. While India maintained that the strikes were preemptive and targeted terrorist infrastructure, Pakistan claimed that there were civilian casualties. The strikes triggered a war of words between the two countries, with both sides accusing each other of aggression. Operation Sindoor marked a departure from India's traditional policy of strategic restraint. It signaled India's resolve to take decisive action against terrorism emanating from Pakistani soil. The strikes also highlighted India's growing military capabilities and its willingness to use them to protect its national security interests. However, the long-term consequences of Operation Sindoor on the already volatile Indo-Pak relations remain to be seen.